Okay, great. Welcome, everyone. I'm Brett Halverson. I'm a program coordinator at Vermont Sustainable Jobs Fund, formerly worked at UVM Extension. And yeah, welcome to the session on the Regeneration Core program. And our session host today is Emma. And just wanted to remind everybody, you've probably heard this a few times now, but if you can just make sure that your name and pronouns and organizational affiliation is in your square. If you could just be sure to respect everybody during the session and make sure you're not interrupting each other. Raise your hand if you have a question, and also feel free to put any comments into the chat. And with that, I will turn it over to Michelle McCormick, who is a Regeneration Core Coordinator. So take it away, Michelle.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Thanks, Emma, also for being here to help facilitate the meeting, especially on the tech end of things. So as mentioned, my name is Michelle Edelman-McCormick, and I am the humble coordinator for the Regeneration Core, which we will talk more about what that is for those of you that don't know us. And I am joined here today from Regeneration Core, from our core team, with Henry Harris and Kat Buxton. Kat, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi all. Nice to see you here. I know a bunch of you, and it's great to see your faces and or names. So yeah, Kat Buxton, I live in Sharon. I wear a lot of different hats. My business, Grow More, Waste Less, is a partner in Regeneration Core, and it's some of my favorite work these days. So we're gonna start off by showing you a bit of a video, sort of explaining what we do. And then we have some activities, and we also have some short videos from students that we'd like to share with you as well. I'll let Henry introduce himself, and then I'll show the video.
Hi, buddies. It's good to see y'all. This is Henry Harris. I live in Marshfield at the Center for Grassroots Organizing and work with Regeneration Core. My pronouns are he, him. And I'm really excited to be part of an organizing project, something that offers a part of our population, high school kids and others, an opportunity to get work done towards their diploma while also engaging in opportunities to grow a regenerative economy and learn about agroecology and racial equity. We're just hearing so many kids say, wow, we never get any of this content in any of these categories, or we haven't heard anything about it since 7th grade, or things of that nature. It's been really fun and seems like a needed program. So yeah, it's just great to be here with all of you. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, Henry. And just a quick rundown of what we have planned.
I don't know if that's my internet or Michelle's.
It's Michelle, rural living.
We're all used to this.
Totally. Michelle is saying some really brilliant things right now, y'all. It's too bad you're missing it.
All right, I'm going to try and fill in while Michelle's paused. I think she was going to let you know what we're up to today. Like I said, we're going to show you a short video, and we may have some technical difficulties. So if we do, we're going to turn that off and just talk. And then we have a little activity. We want to do a SWOT analysis on some of the topics that we work with. And we want to have some good conversation with you all. I want to just start off by saying, so Regeneration Core works with high school aged students. We are also starting to work with middle school students. We are now building relationships in 10 different schools, mostly in the Upper Valley, but also Twinfield and Montpelier, basically from Bethel down to Woodstock and into Hartford. So a lot of schools down that way. there's a lot of interest in schools that would love to work with us. We're trying to build our capacity. We're also in Ludlow, right? I sometimes drive out to Ludlow for a small school. It's really fun. It's really challenging. It's really rewarding. And the teachers are really appreciating what we're bringing to schools as well. So I'm going to go ahead. I can't show the video until Michelle comes back because it's her internet.
Why don't we just try the one that you were going to do originally?
Yeah, I'll do that. So Michelle is texting and swearing at the internet, just so you all know. She's like, come on, really? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and show you. So just to give you a little context, I'm gonna show you a clip from a farm-based education network interview that our students did with Vera Simon Nobes last year, reporting on some of the work that they had done. These are 3 Thetford Academy students. The one in particular, hey, Michelle, you're back. I was just going to show the student video, but do you want to try to show the big video?
I'm gonna try, see if the internet gods will show favor upon me. Okay. Yeah, let me tell you how fun this was when I was working in a corporate job with people who lived in like cities, and this would happen to me. It was just like the worst high school anxiety, like showing up for your big day of your presentation and not having your thumb drive or something like that, right? Like back in the thumb drive days. It was like that every day. So thank you all for being patient. Let's see if I can make this work. Okay, I'm sharing my screen first. Okay.
No sound.
Cat looks cool though.
I'm saying really brilliant things.
Yeah.
This share sound. I guess you have to change those settings each time.
Earn up to a full credit. Each credit is 30 hours worth of work, and you can choose the plan that best fits the amount of time you have to commit, and it's a really worthwhile experience to learn about important issues that our community right here is facing. Yeah, and you can sign up for different dates and activities. So for example, last year we all were part of the Sear Circle experience, and we went and we got to go to the farm and learned about those topics. Yeah, last year I also participated in the Real Organic Symposium, which was really interesting. There were voices there from all over the world about climate change and the food system. And this year we hope to kind of centralize Regeneration 4 at TA using our garden and really make a difference in our own community. We'll also hopefully connect with other schools in the area and eventually maybe all over Vermont who are working towards the same goals and discuss issues that we're facing as a whole. Yeah, and if you're interested in joining, it's a really cool experience and please contact Kat.
Greetings, my name is Kylie Acuno, and I'm speaking to you on behalf of Cooperation Jackson, based out of Jackson, Mississippi.
It looks like Michelle's paused again.
Yeah.
Um,
Kylie Acuno is a really is new on the scene here in Vermont and part of the Just Transition movement here, and is working with a bunch of groups and has is part of sort of the national and international conversation about the just transition, and has a project called Cooperation Jackson in Jackson, Mississippi, which is the blackest city in the blackest region of the United States. implementing regenerative economy solutions and people power versus corporate power, and doing great stuff on the ground there. Obviously, I'm vamping since we don't have the benefit of him speaking for himself on the video, but it's been great to have him involved with our work and helping to inform how we relate to the just transition in our work with school kids and collaborators.
So, yeah, thanks, Hammy, for giving a little fill in on Kylie. So I just put the link to that video in the chat. You can see that online when you have better internet service. I hope you'll watch it. It's about 25 minutes and it explains a lot of what we're doing. You'll be able to hear the girls talk a little bit louder. And it breaks down some of the subjects that we talk about, and some of our partners appear in that video. So I'm sorry we weren't able to share that with you. But now I'm going to share the little clip that I have from our students. So the screen that we're looking at now, you can't see on the, I don't know if you can see Cece on the top right-hand side. Mary is in the middle and Maddie is on the left side underneath me. And then we had Cece's parents were on this call, and Vera Simon Nobes. And so this was recorded as a part of Cece's year-end project. She wanted to do a presentation for the Farm-Based Education Network. There's a whole slideshow, and I'm just going to show you a clip of some of the responses of the three girls when asked a question by Vera.
The service work that you did, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I really wasn't honestly expecting to find it as fascinating as I did, just because like I have relatives who own farms and it was kind of just like, oh, like they're planting food. But when I started to actually focus on the impact that growing food well can have on communities, that just totally fascinated me. I learned so much. And yeah, so I guess being there was really interesting to see how it's done at Cedar Circle, because they have really good practices and some really awesome goals, like the farm for willing hands. But definitely also in reflection, yeah, it kind of just made me appreciate it even more.
Other questions for Cece? I know we also have other participants from Regeneration Corps, so if there's a question for them that, but more than just if someone else other than Cece wants to answer, that would be okay too.
Well, I have a question. I'm curious about what surprised you.
It surprised me. I really enjoyed looking at it from such a scientific perspective, because I really didn't know, I had no idea that like no-till farms were so much better than tilled farms. Just because learning about soil and how important that is and how tillage leads to soil degradation, that was really fascinating for me. I had no idea. Yeah, and also like how you have to plant cover crops to integrate more nutrients and nitrogen into the soil, and really all of the really small details that have to be put into place for regenerative farming. That was surprising to me.
Thanks. I wonder, Maddie or Mary, we didn't talk about this and I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you would like to answer that question too, I'm curious, what surprised you the most, you know?
Yeah, so my studies were more oriented towards regenerative agriculture, as opposed to Cece's kind of like intersectionality between climate change and racial justice. So I learned a lot about the Real Organic Project and just scientifically like the carbon sequestration in the soil, which I thought was fascinating, because there's just this amazing ecosystem under the ground that nobody knows about, with billions of amazing organisms that if they weren't here, we wouldn't be here. So I thought that was really, really cool.
Yeah, there's not like one specific thing that surprised me, but what I thought was like very interesting, you know, I hadn't really learned a lot about social justice and racial justice and climate change. So like just being part of the group was super interesting, and also being part of some different clubs at my school. But I thought was really interesting, but I still haven't learned a lot about was the agriculture part of it, because I did not know a lot about soil health and like farming and sustainable farming and stuff like that. So that was really interesting to me. I definitely want to learn more about that in the future too.
So that goes on.
I was thinking about
but I'll leave that one there. I'm going to share another video. So what you just heard was at the end of the year. At the beginning of the year, we asked the students to put together, it was actually kind of maybe a quarter of the way into the year, to put together, wait a minute, that was the wrong one. Put together a video for us to let us know what they were thinking. And this was like full on pandemic. These kids, we were doing everything by Zoom. We didn't actually meet in person. I think only at Cedar Circle Farm. So enter. Yeah. Sorry about all the background.
Hi everyone, my name is Cecilia and I'm a freshman at Thetford Academy. I joined Regeneration Corps because I'm interested in learning about the problems that our world is facing and what I can do to work towards the solution, even on a very small scale in my own Vermont town. I'm doing a challenge course through Regeneration Corps, and my main focus has to do with the connections between racism, climate change, and agriculture. And that sounds like a random selection, but all three topics have a lot to do with each other. I really appreciate how this program allows me to design my own curriculum when learning about all of these issues, but I still have guidance and support if I have any questions or if I need resources or anything like that. I think Regeneration Corps is a really valuable program for high school students because it's so vital for us to educate ourselves on some of our community and our world's largest problems.
So those are just, you know, three of our students. All three of those are freshmen, which really excites me to think about what they have ahead of them. And some of the things that they expressed to me is that in their year of doing a challenge course with Regeneration Corps, they learned how to think differently. And that's huge. That's just huge. I'm so excited to continue working with those students. So they were sort of like our star students, or at least my star students from last year. They're working with us again this year at Thetford Academy. And Thetford Academy has hired actually their own farm to school kind of person who's on site building out their school farm. So this year Regeneration Corps is really partnering at the school to help them build out the sustainability portions on their site. We'll also go to farms close by, and Cedar Circle is, you know, 2 miles down the road. So it's a natural fit. So that was just that school. It's been really exciting. That particular school has a challenge course. So we often try to work through flexible pathways programs or community-based learning, which all schools have some avenue to be able to work through. Thetford Academy also has a challenge course. So in their case, for every 30 hours a student puts in, they get a quarter credit of time, but they also have to produce a final project. Cece's was the Farm-Based Education Network interview, which actually aired nationally. So that was really exciting for her. Mary did a zine that I'll share with you guys a little bit later. And Maddie built a website about Regeneration Corps, including everything she learned. So it was pretty exciting, the various ways that they took their studies, the creativity that they were able to pull in. And there was a lot of guidance for them, but we really wanted to encourage them to go their own way with that work. So we're at 3:20.
So Kat, I may have missed it because I was, you know, in and out with the internet. But the video was really kind of the foundation for talking about what Regeneration Core is and how we work and our 3 pillars and the just transition framework. Did you get all that already?
Maybe not well enough. So I did mention that we work with high school age students, and the quickest way to say what we do is that we help students discover the intersections between climate change, regenerative agriculture, and social and racial justice through the lens of a just transition. So I'm curious, among the people that are here, can you give us like a thumbs up or some kind of indication if you are familiar with the term just transition and what that means? All right.
2 folks. Henry, do you want to give us a rundown of the main tenets of, the just transition?
Well, yeah, sure. I think that we would have gotten thumbs from a couple folks who.
Can you be a little louder?
But I think that, sort of grounded in the practical opportunities here in Vermont, right? So the just transition is about moving from an extractive economy to a regenerative economy. Here in Vermont, we've got this tourism-based economy, and the agricultural sort of the block agricultural economy that we rely on, conventional dairy being lead amongst those categories, is having a really rough time. And we've got to figure out what a livable regenerative economy can look like in the state of Vermont. And so that really, that is based in access to land and agroecology. And so we're trying to help sort of like onboard the folks that we're working with, students and collaborators and community members, into this conversation about a just transition, which is an international conversation, and to try to engender some of like the sort of social movement identity that comes along with the just transition. So folks from the Climate Justice Alliance, Grassroots Global Justice, Movement Generation, Indigenous Environmental Network, Cooperation Jackson, they've met and they have created this sort of this shifting philosophy about what the just transition is. And they're sort of distilled from that are these principles of the just transition. And I think that even if we've all heard them before, it's good to sort of unpack them collectively and often. The first principle is really interesting because it's a just transition moves us towards buen vivir, which translated from Spanish means good living, but it was translated into Spanish from Quechua, from the Sumac Kausai, like Andean cosmovision, but it gets into all of these ideas that not only do humans deserve human rights, but all living beings have inalienable living being rights and have to be considered in order for us to have to live well, for us to have healthy systems and healthy relationships. So, basically the rights of people's communities and nature have to supersede the rights of the individual, which is the difference, a main difference between what an extractive economy based in individualism and competition is, and what a regenerative economy is, which is based in cooperation. The other principles are a lot easier to understand. Meaningful work, self-determination, equitably redistributes resources and power. Right, a just transition requires regenerative ecological economics. So again, all of us here in Vermont, we're really looking, many of us, I see, Liz and Zia, who are working in food systems, and others, we're trying to figure out how to transition from these extractive, market-driven, quarterly profits for the shareholders, economic constraints, and into opportunities to build a livable economy, a regenerative economy. and in Vermont based in regenerative agriculture, and trying to maintain the threshold of what regenerative agriculture even means, as opposed to it just being another boutique branding opportunity. But I think that the key point that we're trying to get across to a lot of our students and collaborators is that the just transition has to be led really pluralistically, that there has to be lots of different kinds of people, especially people most impacted, but all people involved in the just transition. And there's got to be room in this social movement for them to apply their own strategies, and for all of these strategies to come together in the middle and really support each other. So I think, yeah, that pluralism is important, and trying to bring in voices of the folks who are organizing from the impacted communities and for and with the impacted communities has been a major strategy of us at the Regeneration Corps. I probably missed some really, really key points, and those key points are probably covered by Kylie Acuno and others in the video that Kat linked in the chat. But yeah,
I also threw 2 links in the chat from Banks to Tanks and Cooperation and Caring, and also the Climate Justice Alliance Just Transition definition.
Yeah, and I'll just drop, there's a new sort of iteration of the just transition coming from movement generation. The thing that's lacking is, so what do we do? How do we apply this? How do we organize and implement these strategies at scale? But the thing that it's got is this really, really clear sort of philosophy about how to sort of think about the just transition. And we would all be interested to know what y'all think of sort of the layout, and how do we communicate this content to high school aged folks as we move through our collaborations in the future. But I'll just drop that in the chat in a second.
I think I already did that. That's the From Banks to Tanks and Cooperation to Caring from Movement Generation.
Sorry,
Yeah, that's in there. It's great. So we're sort of making things up right now just because our video didn't work. We're going to go into an activity in a little bit, but this was a time where we really wanted to talk more about the work of Regeneration Corps. So we've given you a little bit of a summary, and I know some of you are aware of our work, but I wonder at this point if there are any questions. Yeah, go ahead, Kayla.
So I've heard a lot about like your partnership with the schools, but I was wondering a little more if you could talk about other partnerships with farms and what that looks like for Regeneration Corps.
That's a great question. It can look a lot of different ways, and it's certainly always going to look like what the farmer needs if they're interested. Right now, we're working with mostly small farms. We're working with Cedar Mountain Farm on a pretty good scale. So they just received an NRCS grant to install some agroforestry over the next 3 to 5 years. And Woodstock Union High has 2 teachers that took a sabbatical for 6 months to develop an agroecology arm in the school. So we're partnering with Woodstock High and Cedar Mountain Farm, using Cedar Mountain Farm as a classroom. In that particular case, students are going there, digging holes, planting trees. They will be taking measurements as time goes on. We'll be doing some land listening, basically understanding the biodiversity of the landscape and watching for changes in biodiversity and water movement and carbon storage. So we'll be teaching kids about some of those data sharing bits, and that will all benefit the farm. We're also in that particular case we're looking for a particular grant to get funding to make sure that our farm is getting a benefit. So typically a farm isn't charging us to be there, but we want to be able to pay farmers for their time, especially if we're needing their time. What we do is we provide site leads such as myself or Henry. And our job is to make sure that we're aware of what the farm needs so that the farm doesn't have to provide a person, and we can keep everybody safe and ideally get some work done for the farm. But of course, we want to involve the farmers whenever possible because it's important for students to actually meet people that work the land. So it can look a lot of different ways. Sometimes we show up and plant trees. We've rubbed sweet potatoes at farms. We've done weeding. We've done harvesting. We'd like to get out and do some grazing farms and get kids moving fences and having a bit clearer of an understanding. So far, my experience in working with kids on farms is they are surprised at how much goes on and what potential there is for hope for our future in agriculture. So I hope that was helpful, Kayla. I'd be happy to follow up if you had a follow-up question.
No, that was great. Thank you.
Great.
Maybe just one more follow-up question was, so other schools that are reaching out that are wanting to participate, but say you haven't been able to build the capacity yet, do you first identify a farm that they could work with and then offer different types of opportunities for them from there, or?
So in some cases, yes, but with the pandemic has made it difficult to get kids out of school more than a couple at a time. So this year we are working more in schools and on school sites.
Yeah.
Not that we won't be going to farms. Hopefully in the spring we can do that more.
Mhm.
So typically the route has been so far, let's build a relationship with a school, because it takes a while to build that relationship before you can actually get kids out of the school and onto a farm.
Yeah.
So we don't want to, get a farmer all excited and then have one kid show up, although that does happen. And sometimes that's okay. So really, I think it's more about building those school relationships first, building the trust with the school and making sure that all of the staff and students are aware, which is a challenge to get a message out in a school. So it's taken us quite a while to build the relationships with the 10 schools, and they're all really loving us, and the word is spreading. We are going to need to increase our site leads. That's a key part of Regeneration Core. And so some of the work that we have planned for ourselves is, we do retreats throughout the year. We want to continue to do that and work on our own training manual for how to train site leads. Right now, our site leads are all just sort of naturally curious and naturally in tune with these subjects. But we're all studying as well and making sure that we're keeping up, especially with things like anti-racism, social justice, and just transition, which are not things I was raised with.
I would just want to add a little bit to that, Kat. So when y'all saw in the video, these incredible young folks just talking about these intersections and really speaking directly to the 3 pillars of the Regeneration Core offering. But we also, we kind of like follow the rabbit as we make these relationships. So at Randolph Union High last year, we were having these conversations about these intersections while doing stream bank restoration and invasive species mitigation and like plotting a buffer zone. And Michelle and I were in a meeting with a student today. We're supporting her to write a Young Leaders grant to the Grassroots Fund to run the Race Against Racism. And we're partnering and supporting the Race Against Racism, which is a student-led community anti-racist event that is really more about that one specific pillar. So we're really there to provide, it really comes down to the teachers and administrators who have something that they think might be a good fit that they're willing to sign off on. And then we adapt our offering to be able to make sure that the intersections are explicit, but the project could be just about anything.
That's right. Yeah, so another sort of campus-based project like the riparian zone in Randolph, at Thetford Academy, they have a school farm. They're looking to expand that this year. So the students are getting involved with that farm. We're also building, they have a whole forest that they have access to. So we're building in an understanding of regenerative foresting. So we're also working with a few different teachers at that school who focus on the forest and focus on the farm. We work with their guidance counselor who helps kids to design a challenge course with them. At Thetford not Thetford, at Sharon Academy, a very different situation. We have a food justice garden off-site on land that's owned by Sharon Academy that will become a part of our project. They started in last year, and I think we'll probably do more in the spring on that. We've also been invited to teach an elective 2 days a week there in the spring, which is incredible. So we're in the process of developing the curriculum to be able to do that. Some of our other sites are not necessarily farms, though. We're building a food forest in West Hartford at a town park. So that's one of our sites, and Karen Gainey and I are the site leads for that place. Randolph Community Orchard is another place that we've brought students to as well. Lots of possibilities. Also, every school I'm working with now has, not because of us, but they have some kind of a social justice or racial justice committee. And those groups are getting very involved with Regeneration Core too, which is really awesome.
Awesome.
I wonder, yeah, Allison, did you have a question?
I was going to ask, just with the second part of your organization title, Kat, if there have been any opportunities that have emerged out of the implementation of the universal recycling law and schools composting programs, or if you'd be excited about something like that.
Yes, yes, yes. I would be super excited. And there are whispers happening. So the school in Ludlow that I'm working with, it's only 15 students in the whole school. And the principal of that school hopes that over time, I guess it might not happen this year, that they would actually start a food scraps collection business in town. The students would design the business. All of the money would go right back into the school. They would create compost and then sell it. So that's a super cool idea. And that came from a principal. I'm also sort of, as I said, I wear many hats, and ideally all my work folds together at some point. So I do a lot of consulting with schools on composting. And I'm currently working with 4 superintendents to try and figure out a multi-regional compost implementation effort over the next couple of years. And that would definitely align with Regeneration Core for those students that would be interested in that. Also, Thetford Academy is looking to install a compost system, which is a dream come true because I've been teaching the little kids in town how to compost for 14 years. So they're going to be doing that too. And that will be a part of their program and also Regeneration Core. It's sort of, of course, it's a natural fit for me to talk about composting. So yes, absolutely. And I talk about the universal recycling law quite a bit. Also with the farmers that we connect with. Yeah, great question. Nice kitty.
She's the real boss.
Are there any other clarifying questions before we move on to an activity?
We actually want to do a round of introductions.
Oh yeah, who's here?
Yeah.
Let's talk.
So before we all get into a group activity and talk about who's here. Especially since I'm new in town in general, and there's a lot of folks I don't know yet. Seems like everybody knows each other except for me all the time.
Yeah, let's do a little intro because our outcome for doing this at Farm to Plate is we hope to have more organizational partners. On the video that you didn't get to hear, but you did see the first slide, it listed a bunch of our organizational partners. NOFA is one of our partners. We're working with a little bit. I mean, we've had a few calls, but we hope to do more. I know that NOFA and Shelburne Farms have been working for years, a Vermont feed program on working with little kids. So in talking with the folks at NOFA, Kayla, you were involved in that conversation, weren't you? Yeah. So we're really excited to build more opportunities for middle and high school kids throughout the state. And so this work, there's plenty of room for statewide organizational partners. We want to go all over the state, but we need to be very careful about how we do that so that we can actually meet the need. Kids have enough unmet needs. We don't want to create another one.
in the go round, I just saw that Liz might be about to be escaping, and I would really love to hear from Liz. Maybe she could kick off the go round, and maybe she's got new ideas about how we can collaborate more with the work that she's doing, which is amazing.
Sure, I'll jump in. Thanks, Ambon. Yeah, I got to run to another thing, a robot meeting. But I was wondering, the monthly call might be something that some folks in the Vermont Farm to School network might hook up with if they're not already in that conversation. So we could pass that on. I know, Kat, you're in those conversations, or you can send me a link or info if you want to invite others.
Great.
The other idea, I don't have anything formed, but I'm trying to think of how 4-H structure and on-farm kids, might get involved, how to distribute it, because it's so people intensive. Like, I ran the on-farm job training program for 7 years, and that was like, we had this acre where things happened and the few towns around, and how to replicate. And sorry, I didn't even introduce myself. I work for UVM Extension 4-H, kind of broadly agricultural workforce development, so tractor safety. If any of your kids are operating tractors and they want to get certified, I can do that. And liaise with farm to school and gardening, a few other things. But yeah, thanks for this work. I've been like observing and haven't found a way to hook up or replicate, but I mention it all the time. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome,
Sorry to
Liz.
do
We'll
that.
definitely be in touch. That's really exciting. I'm also holding in mind the conservation districts and a lot of the work that they do and meeting youth, and also the Youth Conservation Corps, as well as tech schools. So do you work with tech schools at all?
I work with tech schools the most of really any audience, I think, mostly through the tractor stuff, but there's interest in other things.
Great.
Maybe not right now, but I want to hear about the idea of teaching cooperative agricultural economy structure in the tech schools and the VOC schools.
I can think of a couple of teachers who might be interested. Yeah, awesome. Sorry I have to run. Thank you so much.
Thanks for being here, Liz.
Kat, you want to keep it moving on, folks?
Yeah, Kayla, do you want to tell us about yourself?
Hi, I'm Kayla. I work for NOFA Vermont. I am the farm to school coordinator. I work with my colleague Helen Rortvet, who's the farm to school director. And we work in partnership with Shelburne Farms on a project, Vermont Feed. And we provide technical assistance to schools around the state who are hoping to build out their farm to school programs using the 3 C's model, which is kind of community, cafeteria, and the classroom, kind of integrating those all together. We also work with schools around the state to help them with their local purchasing. So trying to get more local food into farms, either through direct farm sales or working with food hubs in their communities. And yeah, that's a little bit about the work that we do.
Thanks, Kayla. Yeah, and we're so happy that you guys are a part of our core. We'll have to be in touch, and we are meeting every 2 weeks.
Oh, it's every 2 weeks? Yeah, Helen has been, her capacity has been she's just so full. So I told her recently, actually this week, that I would be happy to be the NOFA feed voice on the Regeneration Corps call.
Yay, that's fantastic.
So hopefully I get to talk with you all more regularly.
Awesome, Kayla. Great. We'll make sure that you get the invites. Super. Kaylee, tell us who you are.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kylie Spoyle. I'm the newish gleaning coordinator for Salvation Farms. We're based out of Morrisville, and yeah, my program's called Lamoille Valley Gleaning. So I'm working with around 20 farms in the Lamoille Valley to come on farm, rescue any food surplus, and then redistribute it through the charitable food system. So we're working with a number of different charitable food partners in the Lamoille Valley as well, around 20 partners that, the gleaned produce is going sometimes into cooked meals with Meals on Wheels, sometimes going into a food pantry. And then we also have a direct distribution program, which is a free gleaned CSA called Bounty Share. yeah, and we work a lot with volunteers, and I'm definitely, you know, always intrigued with how we can hook up with high schoolers. And yeah, we work with, you know, we're trying to kind of get that a little more streamlined. We work with a lot more individual volunteers, but I feel like there's a huge opportunity to work with more groups and engage, you know, middle and high schoolers out on farm gleaning as well. So just excited to hear what you all are doing.
Wonderful. I'm so glad you're here. And we have by us Willing Hands, which you must be familiar with.
Yeah.
And so we have been doing some work with them, and Cedar Circle Farm houses a Willing Hands garden where they grow fresh food. I know that students are very interested in reducing food waste and understanding more about that problem, because it is one of the really tangible things that people can do. And it's even listed as, I think, the top third in the book Drawdown as tangible solutions for climate change. So we should be in touch more, Kaylee. That's great. Hillary.
Hi, everybody. I'm the clearinghouse director at Salvation Farms. So I work with Kaylee on her gleaning program. We're also getting the Northeast Kingdom gleaning going. And we have a surplus, not a commodity food program where we minimally process gleaned produce. I am also new to Vermont. I just moved to Marshfield actually in June. But before this, I worked in New Hampshire in the food system. I worked for the Merrimack County Conservation District, as well as special ed at an elementary school. And my position through the Conservation District allowed me to create raised bed gardens at 2 elementary schools. And they also participated in a program called School to Farm, which was actually bringing agricultural programs to schools. And that was one of my favorite things to do. I love talking to kids about growing food.
Awesome. Great to meet you, Hillary. Thanks for being here.
Welcome
Hey,
on.
neighbor.
Yeah, come on up and see us.
Yeah, 2 Marshfield folks here on the call. Zia.
Hey everyone.
Ooh, nice to see you outside.
I know, Kat, I'm taking a page from your book and got the computer. I've been clipping some of my garden here, but hey, I'm relatively new at NOPA Vermont, the events and engagement coordinator. Plan summer workshops and agricultural literacy week, which is happening right now, our winter conference and whatnot. I have a background in environmental education in general and zero waste and farm to school and stuff. So really happy to learn more about Regeneration Corps.
Great, thanks for being here. Brett, do you want to say anything? Are you attending because you like us? Or?
Hi, everyone, again. Brett Halverson, and I'm the newer coordinator here at VSJF, working in the farm to plate and forestry programs and helping to coordinate events and programs across those networks. And prior to this, I was the coordinator of the statewide community horticulture programs for UVM Extension. So I know Kat, she was one of our star master composter volunteers. And it's great to see you in this context, Kat. And yeah, also just have some previous experience working in food security and farm to school, and was a school garden coordinator in Oregon. So it's great to hear about all this. And my husband's a high school teacher who works in a flexible pathways program. So this is awesome to hear about, and I'm definitely going to share this with him. I'm sure he'll be excited to learn more about what you guys are doing.
That's awesome. And I took your note there. Thanks, Brett. We'll be in touch.
Awesome. Great.
Great. And Allie.
I was so busy jotting down everybody's cool resumes. Everybody, I'm Allie Baker. For those of you who don't know me, I'm actually in a transition. So I'm working independently for the first time in like 12 years of being a land, food, and farm educator and formerly a kitchen manager at a couple of places, including Cedar Circle Farm, where I met Kat, and also the mountain school up in Vermont, Vermont, where I just finished up my contract last June. So I've been moving into some new areas. I think most especially doing work around community land access and land justice and land use in my hometown of Thetford, Vermont. But some of the other threads of what I'm doing that are more pertinent to Regeneration Corps, I run a small curriculum development firm with my partner, who is also a social studies teacher, Brett, who teaches a really successful food justice course at the high school in Springfield, Vermont. So we have been working on doing curriculum development and curriculum consulting around kind of critical land and food system studies for different partners. And I'm also really interested in statewide communities of practice and expanding conversations so communities can learn from what others are doing in this mycelial way that Kat introduced me to, which is so powerful. So one of the ones that I'm involved with newly is the Vermont Community Garden Network up in Burlington. They run a community of practice on collective gardening, sort of a new approach to community gardening that's really exciting. And then the last thread is kind of the peopling piece, sort of using resources like the Shift Meals Grow Team Initiative and AmeriCorps, just to support more folks to come into our community food and land and farming enterprises. And I have the rare opportunity of actually having a grant funded program that I'd like to pitch to Regeneration Corps to participate in. So I never get to actually say that, like, hey, we already have the money. We'd like you all to consider working with us. So I'm excited to follow up on that with you all at another time. So that's me. Sorry to go on so long.
We don't get to hear the pitch now? Where do we sign?
Allie,
So
that's
exciting.
so exciting.
It's so exciting, I know. So
and we are in the process of writing curriculum and gathering curriculum from all of the many resources around the world that are available. And I would love to connect with you and Keegan.
we are long overdue, Kat.
Oh yeah.
Agree,
Oh.
I agree.
Awesome. I love it. Well, thank you all so much for being here. And this feels like a really good group to do a SWOT analysis with. I think you probably all know what a SWOT analysis is, and it can be a super boring exercise, but I find it extremely helpful. And especially when we're working with what we're doing is pretty challenging work. It's not, our school system isn't super ready to accept the kind of work that Regeneration Corps does, but the people in our school system are ready to accept it. So systemically, it can be a really challenging thing, even just trying to get an opportunity for young people to gain credit while they're already at school doing something other than what they've been asked to do at school. But we have in our school systems a lot of incredible teachers and a lot of incredible people that are passionate about empowering youth. And so that's really who we try and tap into when we go to schools. So I put together I just gotta find it. Hang on.
Hey, Kat, while
Yeah.
you're doing that, I'm seeing that we are shockingly a little bit ahead of our agenda. And I was wondering if I could ask a softball recruitment question of our group while you're getting that ready.
Absolutely.
So Kat was talking a little while ago about site leads and just hearing from Allie now about the work that.
Hey, Henry, is your hand over your mic on the laptop or something?
No. Can you not hear me?
Yeah, no.
Something
better?
back weird. Is that better? I can just shut up too.
No, just talk louder. You're good.
Okay, I just wanted to hear from folks. We're trying to pull together sort of modular curriculum stuff, as well as write the curriculum that's needed to fill in the gaps. We're also trying to recruit folks to actually be at schools. And as we get more teams sort of assembled in different parts of Vermont, that means that we can start approaching more schools in different parts of Vermont. I'm wondering if there are folks in this call who are really considering being more plugged into the work that we're doing, possibly showing up at some schools and farms, possibly helping out with the curriculum development and things like that, or things of a more general or nature. Are any of you guys interested in us like contacting you directly and trying to get you to come hang out with us? Do you want to like raise your hand and tell us that you are that kind of interested? Allie, Kaylee, Brett.
Kaylee.
Cool.
Yeah.
Now it's off recruiting. I love it.
Zia and I are probably going to be doing, we're trying to see if we're going to do an event during the NOFA Winter Gathering centering youth and regenerative agriculture, youth leadership, but sort of like a dance and sledding party in person or something of that nature. That might be a great opportunity for us to all get together and say hi and talk about moving this work forward. And I do just want to mention one more thing. The regional secretary for La Via Campesina out of Nicaragua was just visiting and talking with us about Regeneration Corps. And it looks like we might do an international event at the Grassroots Center or somewhere here in Vermont, centering youth, political education and agroecology. So I just wanted to, that's a sort of further in the weeds, but might be a great opportunity for us to all show up and be the people we are with the youth that we work with and other folks. And we'll be staying in more touch about that as we figure out what the hell it is. But yeah, maybe let's go sledding and drink hot cider together in February and get to talk some more. And we'll definitely be in touch about a site lead conversation and figuring out what people need to feel like they could be confident site leads and go to schools with us, which I think this spring is gonna be a pretty strong showing for us, depending on how many folks we've got to dispatch. So thanks for that.
Thanks, Henry. And Kat, just we're gonna do the regenerative agriculture and climate change one, right? We're not.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that as a group.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna bring up the sort of sample of like Regeneration Corps as a whole. And actually doing this was pretty helpful to me. Is this the right one? Yes. So, you know, when we think about bringing Regeneration Corps into school, there are definitely, it's hard to not just focus on the strengths and the opportunities, because that's what we all get excited about. But there are some weaknesses and threats. And it's really interesting, and it depends very much on where you go in Vermont, what kind of response that you're going to get from students, parents, teachers, etc. So when we're thinking about this work, our activity, we're gonna do this together under the context specifically of regenerative agriculture and climate change. But in this particular one, it's like, what's it like to bring Regeneration Corps into schools? And what I found was there are a lot of opportunities. But these are very real weaknesses and threats, you know. So like the weaknesses are mostly about a very overworked, overstretched group of people in a broken system. There's not much we can do about that other than realize that and make sure that we're not burdening teachers. Can't be burdening teachers. We need to be helping teachers. Reaching everybody in a school can be really challenging. Schools, I've worked in a number of schools, and it's always blows my mind how poor the internal communication is within a school. So realizing that is an important part of making building a relationship with a school. Who are the right people to build the relationship with? And are you just building a one-off relationship with a teacher, or are you building a relationship with a school? So it's different. And we do both, because sometimes you got to start with the one teacher. The content that we teach really makes people feel uncomfortable. People feel guilty. People feel like they're being told they need to change their lifestyles. There's any number of things. And that's without even getting into racial and social justice, just talking about climate change, regenerative agriculture. A lot of people get all up in arms. Can be really challenging. So the way we do that makes a difference. And also, not only can it make people feel uncomfortable, but we need to be mindful that when we leave, the teacher is left with a group of students, and maybe they're all uncomfortable. And so we need to be careful in the ways that we present information and the ways that we follow up with teachers. Is the last thing we want to do is cause a problem for a teacher. And I'm going to focus on the threats here. I'd focus on the strengths and opportunities, but I'm assuming that, first of all, you're reading, and also like, those are the obvious ones. We know why this is important. We know what opportunities this brings for the whole world and for young people. But the threats, like, schools teach to the test, and teachers have to make sure their students are going to pass that test. So that causes stress in teachers. So working with them to try and understand how you can at least be not hurting and hopefully helping toward that goal. And, you know, the best teachers really aren't concerned about that, because they know, but it's hard to be a teacher. Student time is super limited. When we're building lessons, I'm trying to build 45-minute lessons, because typically that's about all you're going to get with a class. Our goal is to try and get kids for a half day or a whole day, and then ongoing. So that's great. But so trying to having that understanding when you go into a school that you might only get a half an hour. How are you going to use that time well? And the societal conflicts that are happening right now in our world are outrageous. Those absolutely follow straight down the lines of families and schools and kids. And the politics entering our education system and our school board meetings and everything are also, they're part of the opportunity that we have, but it's also a bit of a threat, because we are faced with a lot of misinformation and sometimes angry parents, which is the last thing I wrote there. So I hope that it was helpful to try and think about the sort of larger picture in this way, so that when we go into our little activity here, we're going to be looking at the topics of just climate change and regenerative agriculture. And give me a second. All right. So I'm going to ask y'all to unmute if you don't mind. And let's shout out, what are the strengths, opportunities, weakness, and or threats of teaching about this particular subject in schools? And this is the lightest of our subjects. Oh, this is just transition. We're supposed to actually be on regenerative ag. Hang
On it. Wait, well, I think Kat, we should do it with the just transition with the group that we've got.
Oh, okay.
Do you think? Maybe.
This is a good group.
That's a good group.
It's a good group.
Our whole goal was to take this opportunity to mine the brain trust of whoever amazing people showed up today.
So, the first thing I'm thinking about here, I went right to weakness, which is people don't know what it is. What is a just transition? Unfamiliar territory. And I wanted to add something too to what was talked about before with what is a just transition. And it's something that Kylie has said, who is a really inspiring person. And it's something I realized that I've known my whole life, but I didn't know it was just transition work. And that is actually changing our own personal behaviors and lifestyles to be more just. So using less, living lightly, being aware of the 6 or 8 times more of everything that we use than most other people on the planet, and then adjusting our lifestyles accordingly. And that can be really, really challenging, but I think it's an incredible lesson that I certainly try to work with kids on, because it's one it's very personal. And the only change we can actually affect in the world is our own personal change. So making that just transition within yourself, I think, is a really critical element to the just transition. I can't really see y'all, so because my screen's all big.
Yeah, I will. I can see who's popping up.
Now, as a weakness or possibly a threat, I do a lot of straight talk with kids about the threats posed by climate change. And though I'm aware that talking about existential threats without life-saving solutions can be really problematic, I feel like I don't know how to actually super available, accessible life-saving solutions to suggest, and I feel obligated to give the straight talk to these kids. So I don't know how to say that in 2 words for the weaknesses piece, but it's a major weakness. We're talking about the just transition. It just evokes, well, what transition? Climate change? What does that mean? What's going to happen to us? Oh, so what the big solution is, we're going to be a farmer, which we all know is a very challenging economic category. So is there a way to evokes fear? Thank you.
Does that work?
Thank you.
And I think we have Zia has their hand up.
Go right ahead, Zia.
I was just going to say, for opportunities for some students, certainly, it's a huge opportunity. They're hungry to learn about this, from anecdotal. Yeah.
I added self-determination because of what I said about just transition, that it really can help one be mindful and self-determined to make their own changes. I'm not sure if that's the right phrase, but.
Kayla added into the chat opportunity to discuss gratitude and abundance when scarcity fear arises.
I appreciate that, Kayla.
Good one.
Our strength is practical political education, or is practicality maybe?
That makes me realize that it's worth noting, we probably haven't talked about this yet, but Rural Vermont is one of our core partners, and understanding the legislature is part of the work that we'd like to be able to deliver to kids as well. We haven't done that yet, but that's on the docket. Zia, did you have your hand up?
Oh no, sorry, I'll take it down.
And then I've got another one from Hillary in the chat, says threats, family values or beliefs that conflict with climate science.
Right. You need to say conflicting, right? That's a big one. And
Yeah.
I mean, teachers have to deal with this all the time.
I dealt with that a lot last year working in elementary special ed, teaching kids how to grow food, soil science.
You're right up my alley. That's what I do. I teach little kids how to grow food and teach soil science to 6th graders.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing.
So fun. So fun.
I feel like this just transition is new to me, so I'm putting this out there, and I feel like it's kind of a general thing, but I feel like an opportunity is it feels like it could be, you could find a lot of different teachers in a school that I feel like it could be related to a lot of different curriculums in a school, which I just see with like farming curriculum too. You know, it could be woven into history and social studies, and I feel like that might get some good stakeholders in a school as well.
I mean, I'll just add something, even though I'm on the other end of the whiteboard here. But you know, on the threats column, I just think that we, you know, as much as we live in the age of information, we live in the age of disinformation. And yeah, you know, that's an ongoing challenge with so much of everything that's going on in general. But you know, these subjects in particular, whether it, you know, doesn't even necessarily conflict with the person's family or, you know, religious beliefs. There's just so much disinformation, particularly around climate science, that it can be hard to combat.
Yeah. That makes me want to also add, it's almost the same, but it really is separate, that there's a fear of truth as much as there's an age of disinformation. I just think about all of the people who don't want certain things taught in school because they don't believe them, like critical race theory or like climate change.
Right.
There is a fear of truth. Or eugenics, for instance. I'm not sure how many folks, even just out of the 10 of us on this call, are aware that the eugenics program in Vermont was still sterilizing people in the 1970s and even the 80s, and Abenaki and disabled and poor whites, and right here in Vermont, state-sponsored eugenics campaign. We don't teach that about that in school because we're not proud of it. So we only teach things we're proud of, right?
In the category from before of where it says evokes fear, I think that it's actually, we haven't been evoking fear, so that's not a weakness. We haven't really gotten that kind of feedback, but I think that a threat is apathy and depression in the student body. And I think that that's a threat, and being aware of like our vibes is a really important counter to that threat, and trying to be like really positive and playful and throw these kids a party with the stuff that we're doing, as well as like focusing on the things.
So I'll add that is something we do. We deliver information with positivity, and we offer solutions. We don't have the solutions, and we're not going to lie to students and say that we do have the solutions. It's tricky, huh?
Yeah. And just heads up, time check, Kat and Henry, that we're just shy of 15 minutes out before we definitely need to close it up so folks have a chance to grab a glass of water and a bathroom break before going back to the main session.
Well, I feel like we might have taken this exercise as far, like, I think it's been useful to me. I hope it has been to you. I think one of the reasons we chose this, rather boring exercise is because it really does work to get you thinking about all of those things. And it really is a challenge to bring this information into schools and to make sure that we have the right information. So we're doing a lot of research and we're making sure that we're not saying, at least, I'm making sure I'm not saying this is how it is. I'm saying this is what this says. This is what this says. Here's the information. What do you think? Really getting kids to think about it and understand that they do have the power and the capacity to solve problems and hopefully stay in Vermont and help build our future here together with great skills. So thanks for entertaining us through that little exercise. I hope it was useful.
Do folks have any other questions for us and about the work that we do or ideas about, I know that we're hopefully going to be having some ongoing conversations, but to just cross-pollinate while other folks are in the room virtually together. One, questions, but two, ideas for things that you could envision wanting to be involved in, or connections that could be made, or project ideas. I don't know, thoughts, suggestions, ideas.
One bit I want to put out there for folks is so Regeneration Corps was started just as a group of volunteers because we're passionate about this work and it's really important. We have gotten some funding. We have a paid coordinator who is Michelle. We have a rotating stipend for someone, and that's Henry, and I get paid for 10 hours a week to do this work, along with all the other hats that I wear. We're very conscientious. We don't want to be extractive. We know that we'll always need volunteers. We're trying to make sure that our budget will always have a line item for site lead stipends. We have stipends for BIPOC presenters and consultants. And so those are like high priority funding for us. We have a fundraising team. We have people that want to help us with fundraising. It's really great work. I don't think that money is going to be a problem for us going forward. But I hate writing grants. Like, I just want to hang out with kids and do cool stuff. But we do have a team of grant writers here too. So I just wanted to say, like, in the ways to be involved with Regeneration Corps, there are lots of ways to lend your skills to the project. And we want Regeneration Corps to be very regionally specific to each region. I don't see myself as a site lead going all over the state unless it's to help other site leads get their game. But it's the each one teach one model. We're trying to really build that with enough cohesiveness so that we can do it all as Regeneration Corps, and so that students can ultimately connect throughout the state. A big vision is, and we hope to try and pull off at least a Zoom version this winter to get our students from many different schools, together in a room, so to speak, so they can meet each other and feel allyship together. You want to see another, you want to see Mary's end of year presentation, her zines?
Yes.
Okay. She's so cool. I've known Mary since she was very little. She went through the whole school garden program with me in Thetford. So Mary Bosco, a freshman at Thetford Academy, as a part of her 40 hours that she did, she went to the Real Organic Symposium. She went to the whole thing. attended the question and answer sessions, did a bunch of research on her own, and then her final project ended up being 2 zines. So this is one of them. She's also an incredible artist. She was going to do a mural at the town recycling center about composting, but she decided to do this instead. I love it.
Just cannot love this anymore. It's
I
amazing.
know, right? Farmers respect. In their hearts. Personal beliefs. I love this. Why aren't farmers focusing on the bigger issues like climate change and food insecurity that can be addressed by the use of regenerative practices? Zine 2. Yep, she's a freshman.
Very nice.
So proud.
Awesome sauce.
Yeah, that was good.
Thanks, Kayla. So I think we're actually kind of reaching close to the top of our time, Kat, and I think that we lost Henry, but we knew that was coming. And just trying to think, we have everybody from the registration, and we will know who came. And I think that we'll go ahead and just follow up with each of you and see if we can start, a dialogue moving forward and see how we can, collaborate and create some magic across the state for regenerative agriculture in schools. Yeah.
Super exciting. Yeah, be in touch with if you hear of farms or anybody who's interested, we need to find a way to get everybody involved to help our kids get educated about all the things they want to get educated about and keep them here in Vermont where all the climate models say they need to stay. Yeah.
Thank you all for pulling this together. This has really been awesome.
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.
So exciting. It's my favorite work. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to connecting with you all more.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Kat. And thanks everyone for coming to the session and connecting with us. And we look forward to connecting with you more in the future.
Yeah, thank you guys. I just want to remind you that Jake's going to be doing his closing remarks at 4:35. And then at 5 o'clock, there's going to be the Vermont Wild Kitchen demonstration. So hope to see you guys at both of those.
With Sarah.
Yeah.
Sarah.
Awesome.
All
Thanks so
right,
much,
thanks,
Brett.
everyone.
Bye.
Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Henry came back, but we're done.
Henry came back.
Sorry, Henry. I hope you weren't sitting there long. I didn't notice that you.
No problem. No problem at all. The session's over, I guess. How was the end?
It was fabulous. You missed the best ending ever.
Damn it. I don't deserve it.
Thanks, you guys. Thanks so much, Emma.
Recorded. Yes, thanks so much, Emma. Say hi, Jai. Say hi to Emma and Kat and Henry.
Hey, Jai.
I can't see you.
Yeah, thanks Emma and Brett and Michelle and Kat. I'm gonna get back to drive in and go to see if my foot's still broken. Love you guys.
Okay,
All right,
bye.
love you. Bye.